Good morning everyone, this is T. Dube. And before I say anything about today's story, that is the third level, I would like to begin today's class by asking you a simple question. And I would expect an honest answer from you. And the question is, if you have to compare the two times, the time in which you are living in and the time your grandfather used to live in, which of the two periods, which of the two ages or eras do you think is better, more peaceful and happier to live in? Think over this question for 10 to 15 seconds and then we will begin the discussion of this particular story. Think over it. I hope you must have thought of some answer or come up with some comparisons, some qualities of the two times, right? And I also believe that you would agree with me that the past time, the time in which your grandfather used to live in, was happier, peaceful and more enjoyable. The reason being, there was no rush, there was no competition, there wasn't much tension, worry, rush for income and a kind of competition to make your life better and better, not thinking about the peace of mind, the simpler living. And I do believe that this particular hint must have given you a kind of indication what the title, the third level, is going to talk about. But before we begin our discussion further, let me tell you how this particular lecture has been organized. First of all, as we have already understood what the title, the third level, is going to talk about, then we will be knowing something about the author, Jack Finney, who is a writer of this particular piece. Then I give you the central idea of this story, what the theme or central idea of this story is, followed by narration, or you can say explanation of the entire story. I am going to read out aloud and explain the entire story. Then at the end of the explanation of the entire story, you will be given a short summary of it. So this is the kind of headings that we will be discussing. Now let us talk about Jack Finney, the author, and then you can easily understand what the story is going to talk about. Jack Finney was born in the year 1911 in Wisconsin, USA. After completing his school education, he attended Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois. Keep this word in mind. This Galesburg will come in the story also. So it's very important to understand Jack Finney's own life and how he has been, attracted towards the life of his grandfather. For some time, he lived in the New York. Remember, New York and Galesburg, these two cities. So for some time, he lived in the New York City and worked for an advertising agency. He moved with his family to California in the early 1950s and died in the year 1995 at the age of 84. As a writer, Jack Finney's works include several fictions and short stories. His first novel, Five Against the House, was published in the year 1954. And his best known works are science fiction and thrillers, including Body Snatchers and Time and Again. Keep this heading in mind. Body Snatchers and Time and Again. So what is the story of Body Snatcher and Time and Again? The next line will give you the hint, and then you can understand what is coming in the story. The story of time and again involves time travel to past. Time travel to the past. So here I was talking about the same thing. Its central character, Simon, is transported into the past. A similar theme of time travel was previously tried by him in his short stories as well. The present story, the third level, was published in the magazine of fantasy and science fiction in October 1952. In October 1952. Remember the year in which this story has been published, in the year 1952. And in the story, from 1952, he will try to travel back to 1894. 1894 is past. In 1987, Feeney was given the World Fantasy Award for Life Achievement at the World Fantasy Convention. So from this introduction about him, you can very well understand what kind of author, what kind of writer he has been, and what has been the main theme of his novels and stories. So generally, he has worked on time travel. Same theme we are going to witness in the third level. So what is the theme or central idea of the present story, the third level? Here in front of you. Have a look and let us understand it. The central idea of this story is the concept of escapism. Remember, I was talking about which of the two times, the time in which you are living and the time in which your grandfather was living, is better or was better, and why? So if you feel that the time your grandfather was living in was more peaceful, so you would like to run into, you will cherish that memory and the yearning for a simpler, more peaceful time. This is what I was talking about. The narrator, this story revolves around a 31 years old man whose name is Charlie. Second line, the narrator Charlie stumbles upon a mysterious third level at Grand Central Station, which transports him back in the time to June 11, 1894. In this gone-by era, that means in 1894, he encounters people dressed in 19th century fashion, how people of that time used to dress themselves, and experiences a sense of nostalgia for a time when life seemed less complicated. Charlie's desire to buy tickets to Galesburg, Illinois in 1894 and the discovery of an old first day cover, here first day covers refers to stamp which is issued on the first day. So an old first day cover with a message from his psychiatrist friend Sam further emphasizes his longing for escape from the stresses of modern time. The story explores the universal desire to find refuge from the complexities and challenges of contemporary life by seeking solace in the past. Let me put it in simple words. So, since you are living in the present time, your father is living in the present time, and you must be understanding the complexities, the challenges, the hardships the people are facing, tensions, worries, less income, life full of miseries, troubles. So people feel that earlier life was better. People did not used to run this much and life was simpler, though the progress or development was not this much, but this fast pace of life, the modern age, has made man a kind of machine who just keeps running and always keeps himself on his toes. No peace of mind, no tranquility. So that is why this thing is escapism. Hope you must have understood, And now moving on to the next part of the story. Now, after we have discussed the central idea or theme of this story, let us understand what happens in the story through this introduction. The third level is the story of a 31-year-old man named Charlie, who works in an office. One evening, he comes to the Grand Central Station in New York City to catch a train, accidentally takes a wrong turn in a cave-like underground passage in Grand Central Station, and finds himself on a mysterious third level of that station in the year 1894. Then what happens? So one evening when he goes to the Grand Central Station, which is a very busy station in New York City, then what happens? The third level, and he knows that this Grand Central Station has only 2 levels, but he happens to be on the third level, and this third level takes him to the year 1894, which is the past year. What does he see over there? Charlie observes there on that station. Charlie observes on that third level that everyone in this level is dressed in 19th century dress style, and the station itself is looking very strange, complete with gas lights and old-fashioned ticket windows. Charlie attempts to buy 2 tickets for himself and his wife to Galesburg, Illinois, from New York. But his modern-day notes currency is rejected by the clerk who is sitting at the ticket counter, who suspects him of being a cheat. So because he is suspected of being a cheat, he leaves the third level as fast as he can and returns to present day. That means in present life. What happens in the story next? Let's know. So this is the story that we are going to study in the third level. Now, after you have understood the central idea and have also got the hint what is going to come in the story, let us begin understanding this story from beginning to the end. Read the bold part. It will give you the hint what is going to follow in the starting part of the story, so that you can get a stronger grip on the story right from the start, then through the middle, and then what climax you are going to see towards the end of this story. Fantastic piece. Simply you will enjoy it because it is full of suspense, mystery, provided you understand it in the way you are being presented with. So let's enjoy it. Look at the bold part. The narrator, an escapist from world's challenges, remember here this part, discovers the third level, a medium of escape at the Grand Central Station. He consults his psychiatrist friend regarding this discovery. The psychiatrist tells him that his discovering the third level is a medium of escape for him. He is unhappy. Therefore, he wants to escape from all the hardships of present-day life. So this is a scene that you are going to see in the opening part of the story between the narrator and a psychiatrist friend of his. But why did he need a psychiatrist? Was he ill? Was he suffering from any hallucination? Any mental problem? So what was the mental problem? Look at the opening part, you will understand this. The presidents of the New York Central and the New York, New Haven at Hartford Railroads will swear on a stack of timetables that there are only 2. Here, there are only 2 means there are only 2 levels of the Grand Central Station. As I have told you that so far as the Grand Central Station is concerned, it is one of the busiest stations in New York. And this Grand Central Station has 2 levels. One station is above the ground and the other level of the station is underground. And this fact is known to all the station masters. Here the story is beginning by mentioning the name of a number of stations which make Grand Central. So the narrator tells us that the presidents of, that means station masters of the New York Central and the New York, New Haven and Hartford railroads will swear on a stack of timetables that there are only 2 levels of the Grand Central Station. But I say there are 3, because I've been on the 3rd level at the Grand Central Station. So, since there is no 3rd level at the Grand Central Station, how did he happen to be on that part? So this is the obsession. This is his feeling. He feels that he has been on the 3rd level of the Grand Central Station, which does not exist. And regarding this matter, he meets his psychiatrist friend in order to clear his confusion. Look at the 3rd line. Then what happens? He says, yes, I have taken the obvious step in order to clear my doubt. I talked to a psychiatrist friend of mine among others. I told him about the 3rd level at Grand Central Station, and he said it was a waking dream wish fulfillment. What does this phrase mean? I have explained it in the bold part. So this a waking dream wish fulfillment means it refers to a state of mind where a person experiences something that seems like a dream, but it fulfills his or her desires or wishes. So what it means in simple language is that so far as Charlie, the narrator of this story, is concerned, he wishes that there should have been a 3rd level at the Grand Central Station. And this is his waking dream wish fulfillment. So he fulfilled his dreams by imagining that there should have been, or there was a 3rd level at the Grand Central Station, which actually did not exist. Then his psychiatrist friend said that he was unhappy. When his wife, Charlie's wife, heard that he was unhappy, that made kind of mad. But then psychiatrist friend of his explained that he meant the modern world is full of insecurity, fear, war, and all the rest of it, and that I just want to escape. Well, who doesn't? Everybody I know wants to escape. Those who want to escape does not mean that they will walk into the 3rd level. Then, so he tries to give some, you can say, explanation that, well, I am not the only person who tries to escape from all these problems of the modern time, from these challenges and complexities of the modern life. There are other people, but it does not mean that they happen to be on the 3rd level. So his arguments are brushed aside by psychiatrists and all his friends whom he consults. Look at the next paragraph. But that's the reason, he said, and my friends all agreed. Everything points to it, they claimed. My stamp collecting, for example, that's a temporary refuge from reality. So psychiatrist friend of his and his other friends also tell him that yes, he is trying to escape from war, worry, tensions, fears of the modern world. Even his stamp collecting is a temporary refuge from reality. What does it mean, a temporary refuge? It's a way to temporarily escape from the stresses, challenges and unpleasant aspects of their everyday life. Well, now, so after his psychiatrist friend says, and his friends also begin saying that yes, it is true that he is trying to run away from the modern day challenges, then he starts conceding, accepting. Well, maybe, but my grandfather did not need any refuge from reality. Things were pretty nice and peaceful in his day, from all I hear. And he started my collection, means whatever stamps I used to send. It's a nice collection too. Blocks of 4 of practically every US issue, first day covers and so on. He also uses the name of President Roosevelt. President Roosevelt also collected stamps, but it doesn't mean that he was an escapist. Tries to say, or you can say, give arguments to his psychiatrist friend That fine, maybe that I am trying to escape, but collecting stamps does not mean that I am trying to run away from all these problems of the modern time. Now, what happens in the story? He is going to tell us how did he happen to visit the third level. Let us see in the coming part of the story. Now, let us see what happens ahead in the story. But before we move ahead, let us briefly understand what has already happened. So far as the narrator is concerned, he happens to be on the third level of the Grand Central Station. He knows it very well that this third level at Grand Central Station does not exist. Regarding this confusion, he consults his psychiatrist friend. His psychiatrist friend tells him that he's unhappy. He's unhappy because this world is full of war, worry, tension, insecurity, and he wants to run away from all these challenges. The psychiatrist friend of the narrator also tells him that even his stamp collecting is also a temporary refuge from the reality. Then, what happens ahead in the story? How did the narrator happen to visit the third level which did not exist? Look at the screen, please, and let us move ahead in this story. Let us read it. So in this part of the story, what we come to see is the narrator introduces himself as Charlie, a 31 years old young man. He begins narrating the story how he happened to walk down into the third level at the Grand Central Station. Look at the coming paragraphs. So, he introduces himself as Charlie. Charlie says, "Anyway, here is what happened at Grand Central. One night last summer, I worked late at the office. I was in a hurry to get uptown to my apartment. So I decided to take subway. The subway is a network of trains that run both above and below ground from Grand Central Station because it's faster than the bus. The meaning of the uptown is also given, you can check. So in this regard, he comes to the Grand Central Station. Now, I don't know why this should have happened to me. I'm just an ordinary guy named Charlie, 31 years old, and I was wearing a tan gabardine suit. A tan gabardine suit is actually a type of men's suit made from gabardine fabric that is tan in color, and a straw hat with a fancy band. I passed a dozen men who looked just like me. And I wasn't trying to escape from anything. I just wanted to get home to Louisa, my wife." Now, look at the next paragraph. "I turned into Grand Central from Vanderbilt Avenue." Vanderbilt Avenue, actually a street in Manhattan, and went down the steps to the first level, where you take trains like the 20th century. Then I walked down another flight to the second level where the suburban trains leave from, ducked into an arched doorway heading for the subway, and got lost. That's easy to do. I've been in and out of Grand Central hundreds of times, but I'm always bumping into new doorways and stairs and corridors. Once I got into a tunnel about a mile long and came out in the lobby of the Roosevelt Hotel. Another time I came up in an office building on 46th Street, 3 blocks away. So what he wants to say that it has been his habit of getting lost at the Grand Central Station. It is not a new thing. So when he came to that Grand Central Station that particular time, he went down to the first level, then from first to the second, and then he got lost. And when he got lost, then what happens? Does he emerge or does he come out on the third level? Let us see in the coming part of the story. So have a look at the coming part of the story. So in this part of the story, Charlie describes the Grand Central Station, calling it an exit, a way of escape for people through the years. There at Grand Central, he enters a long tunnel, gets lost and emerges on the third level where he finds old times tickets windows, train gates and information booth. Yes, so this is the hint that you are getting, what you are going to get. So he says, sometimes I think Grand Central is growing like a tree, pushing out new corridors and staircases like roots. There is probably a long tunnel that nobody knows about feeling its way under the city right now, on its way to Times Square and maybe another to Central Park, and maybe because for many people through the years, Grand Central has been an exit, a way of escape. Maybe that's how the tunnel I got into. But I never told my psychiatrist friend about this idea that I used to get lost at Grand Central Station. Now he's talking about the corridor in which he was lost. The corridor I was in began angling left and slanting downward, and I thought I was wrong. But I kept on walking. All I could hear was the empty sound of my own footsteps. I didn't pass a soul, so he's alone. Then I heard that sort of hollow roar ahead. That means open space and people talking. The tunnel turned sharp left. I went down a short flight of stairs, cut, and came out on the third level at Grand Central Station. So now he comes on the third level of the Grand Central Station. Then what he sees? For just a moment I thought I was back on the second level. But I saw the room was smaller, there were fewer ticket windows and train gates, and the information booth in the center was old and old looking. And the man in the booth, means at the ticket counter, or a green eye shade, means you can say spectacles, green spectacles kind of looking glasses, and long black sleeve protectors. Then his eyes run on the stations. The lights were dim and sort of flickering, so there were dim lights and those lights were flickering. So he is now transported to past in 1894. Then I saw why. There were open flame gas lights. You must have seen open flame gas lights if you have seen, what I should say, miners working in mines. So on the walls at each side of the mine you will find gas lights, or you can say torches. So that kind of scene. So there were open gas lights on the station on the third level. Now what else he sees on the third level? Have a look. On the third level, Charlie finds himself surrounded among strange things. What are the strange things? He feels as if he has traveled back into time, into 19th century. There are brass spittoons on the station. A glint of light catches his eyes. Everyone in the station is dressed like 1890 something. He sees so many people having beards and sideburns and fancy mustaches that he has never seen in his life before. So he finally comes to know that he has gone into past and is standing on third level on June 11, 1894. So he is transported into past on date 11 June 1894. So how does he come to know this date of 1894? Let us see in the coming paragraphs. There were brass spittoons. Brass spittoons, you can say, containers typically made of brass used for spitting tobacco. So there were brass spittoons on the floor, and across the station a glint of light caught my eyes. A man was pulling a gold watch. He's talking about the scenes on a station. So there were brass spittoons and on the floor, and across the station a glint of light caught my eye. A man was pulling a gold watch from his vest pocket, this pocket. He snapped open the cover, glanced at his watch and frowned. So when this man looks at Charlie, he's making faces. So he frowns. He was wearing a derby hat, a black 4-button suit with tiny lapels, and he had a big black handlebar mustache. What is handlebar mustache? You must have seen, in Rajasthan, tall and muscular Rajasthanis having cycle handle like mustache. So mustache of that style is called handlebar mustache. So fancy mustaches in my life. A woman walked in through the train gate. She wore a dress with leg of mutton sleeves and skirts to the top of her high button shoes. Back of her, that means now his eyes are running on the tracks of the train. So back of her, out on the tracks, I caught a glimpse of a locomotive, a train engine, a very small Courier and Ives locomotive. So on that train engine, Courier and Ives were written with a funnel-shaped stack. Funnel-shaped, that means you must have seen this kind of shape is called funnel-shaped. So a funnel-shaped stack, and then I knew. So when he observes that train engine on which Courier and Ives were written, then he starts realizing that he is not in present time. Actually, he has been transported into past. So as soon as he realizes that he has been transferred into past, then what he does? Look at the next paragraph. To make sure that I was on past, I walked over to a newsboy and glanced at the stack of papers at his feet. It was The World, the name of the newspaper, and The World has not been published for years. The lead story said something about President Cleveland. I found that front page scenes in the public library files, and it was printed June 11, 1894. So when Charlie comes to know that he has been transported into past, he wants to make sure that he has been into past, and therefore he goes to a news vendor. And when he goes to the news vendor, he finds that there is a stack of newspapers, and the newspaper is The World. The World. Then he takes out that one of the newspapers and then finds it is 11 June 1894 and he is in past. Then what happens when he realizes that he is in past? I turn toward the ticket windows, knowing that here on the 3rd level at Grand Central, I could buy tickets that would take Louisa and me somewhere in the United States we wanted to go. So now, once he realizes that he is transported into past and he is standing on the 3rd level on June 11, 1894, then he plans to buy tickets somewhere in the United States of 1894. What does he do? Look at the last part. So, in the year 1894, and I wanted 2 tickets to Galesburg, Illinois. So now he wants to get 2 tickets for his own hometown, but the year is 1894. Year is 1894, and the story was published in the year 1952. So you can understand, he goes some 1894, some 58 years into past. Now, why does he want to go to Galesburg? The answer to this question we will get from the next paragraph. Let us see. So he is saying, have you ever been there? That means, have you ever been to Galesburg? It's a wonderful town still, with big old frame houses, huge lawns, and tremendous trees whose branches meet overhead and roof the streets. And in 1894, summer evenings were twice as long, and people sat out on their lawns, men smoking cigars and talking quietly, the women waving palm leaf fans with firefly all around, the peaceful world. So this is nostalgia. This is a feeling. Why he wanted to go to Galesburg? These were the reasons. To be back there with the first class war, to be back there with the First World War, still 20 years off. That means the First World War had not broken out, and Second World War over 40 years in the future. I wanted 2 tickets for that. So the reasons for him being transported to travel to Galesburg was that it was a peaceful place. The First World War had not started. The Second World War had not started. These 2 world wars were years ahead, and therefore the year 1894 in Galesburg was peaceful, happier. Remember our discussion at the beginning. Then, does he become able to get the tickets? Let's see what happens in the story ahead. So here we go. Look at the next part. Charlie wants to buy 2 tickets to Galesburg, Illinois, for himself and his wife, but fails to do so. So why does he fail to buy tickets to Galesburg? Let us see let us know answer to these questions in these paragraphs. So he goes to a ticket counter and wants to buy 2 tickets, one for himself and another for his wife Louisa. Why does he fail to get the tickets? Look at the first paragraph. The clerk figured the fare. That means the clerk totaled the fare for Galesburg. You just imagine that you are standing at a ticket counter at a station. So the clerk figured the fare. He glanced at my fancy hatband and he figured the fare. So he was looking at this man, the clerk was looking at this man, and he was totaling the fare to Galesburg. And I had enough for 2 coach tickets, one way. But when he counted out the money and looked up, so he's counting the money and looking up at Charlie. The clerk was staring at me. So he was staring at Charlie. He nodded at the bills. So the clerk looked at him and, moved his head. What is that? Money? So the money that Charlie was counting was not the money of 1894, because he was in modern time. So the money that he was carrying was also of modern time. So that money of 1894 was not with Charlie. So he nodded at the bills. Bills means money. And the clerk told him that aren't money, mister, said he. And if you are trying to scheme me, scheme means if you are trying to cheat me, you won't go very far away, I tell you. And he glanced at the cash drawer beside him. So just after threatening him, he became suspicious of him. Of course, the money was old style bills, half again as the money was we use nowadays, and different looking. I turned away and got out fast. There is nothing nice about jail, even in 1894. So when he realizes that the money he is carrying is not of 1894, these notes are of modern time, and therefore he could not buy, and the man was suspecting him of being, a cheat. He thought that the man trying to book the tickets was trying to scheme him, cheat him. So he realized that he might call the police and he might land himself in trouble. So he ran out of the 3rd level as fast as he could. Then what happened? Let us see. And that was that. I left the same way I came, I suppose, And next day during the lunch hour, I drew $300 out of the bank, nearly all we had, and bought old style currency. That really worried my psychiatrist friend. You can buy old money at almost any coin dealers, but you have to pay a premium. That means if you are buying 100 rupees, you will have to pay 10 or 20 rupees more. Means in that case, you will have to give 120 rupees in order to buy 100 rupees. So that amount is called premium. My $300 bought less than 200 in old style money. But I did not care. Eggs were 30 cents a dozen in 1894. So he bought the old style money, even though that was costlier than the present currency. But I have never again found the corridor that leads to the third level at Grand Central Station, although I've tried often enough. So after buying the old style money, when he tried to go to the third level, he did not find the corridor, the tunnel that had led him to the third level. Happens next in the story. Hope you are enjoying. Let us see what happens next in the story. Now, let us see what happens in the story next. And I promise very interesting things are yet to come. So let us see what is that interesting thing. Look at the screen, please. Charlie, a stamp collector, we have seen at the beginning of the story that Charlie has been collecting stamps. So Charlie, a stamp collector, among his old first day covers, now what these old first day covers are, we will come to know in the story, finds one stamp that should not have been among his stamps. The presence of that stamp becomes a mystery for him. So one night he is looking at his stamps, and in the heap of stamps he finds that there is one stamp that should not have been lying there. What was that, and how did it become mysterious? Look at the paragraph. So because one night, fussing with my stamp collection, I found, well, do you know what a first day cover? First day cover means stamp issued on the first day is called first day cover. So do you know what a first day cover is? Answer to this question: when a new stamp is issued, stamp collectors buy some and use them to mail envelopes to themselves on the very first day of sale. And the postmark proves the date. The envelope is called a first day cover. They are never opened. You just put blank paper in the envelope. So Charlie must have sent a number of first days to his address. That night, so it is night, among my oldest first day covers, I found one that shouldn't have been there. But there it was. It was there because someone else had mailed it to my grandfather at his home in Galesburg. So who else had sent this first day to Charlie's grandfather? That's what the address on the envelope said. And it had been there since July 18, 1894. July 18, 1894. So this first day has been lying with his grandfather since July 18, 1894. How did it reach? How and why should somebody else send stamp to his address? The postmark showed that. Yet I did not remember it at all. The stamp was a 6-cent dull brown with a picture of President Garfield. Naturally, when the envelope came to Granddad in the mail, It went right into his collection and stayed there till I took it out and opened it. So who had sent this first day stamp at his address, and how did he come to know this mystery? You can understand it only when you read the last part of this story. So let us see what happens in the last part of the story, and who is this man, this mysterious man who had sent the stamp, the first day stamp at his grandfather's address that had been lying since July 1894. Let us see in the story. Now, once you read this part of the story, I assure you will bite your finger, or you can say you will put your finger between your teeth. You can't believe that it can happen. What does Charlie find? Charlie discovers that his psychiatrist friend Sam, who was treating him, has escaped to Galesburg. So the psychiatrist, the doctor himself, becomes patient. Sam, better say Sam, not Sam, Sam, yeah, correct, Sam. So Sam has sent Charlie a letter advising him and his wife Louisa to join him. Poor Charlie. Charlie had discovered the third level that led to Galesburg, and now instead of him, his doctor, the psychiatrist, has been successful in going to that place, and that also into the past. This is the letter written by Sam to Charlie. Look at the address and the date: 941 Willard Street, Galesburg, Illinois. So from there, his psychiatrist is writing a letter to him, and it was written, remember date, July 1894. 1894. Charlie. And what is he writing? So Sam is writing to Charlie. Charlie, I got wishing that you were right. Then I got to believing you were right. And Charlie, it's true. I found the third level. I've been here 2 weeks, and right now, down the street at days, someone is playing a piano, and they're all out on the front porch singing "Sing Nelly Home," and I'm invited over lemonade. Come on back, Charlie and Louisa. Keep looking till you find the third level. It's worth it. Believe me, it's as happier, as peaceful as we were talking about. So remember, at the beginning of this lecture, I asked you to compare the two times, the time of your grandfather and the time in which we are living. So he has traveled into past in the year 1894. If you also try, now see the end. So this is how the story ends. The note is signed Sam. So at the stamp and coin store I go to, I found that Sam bought $800 worth of old style currency that ought to set him up in a nice little hay, feed and grain business. So there in Galesburg, he has started doing business of selling hay, and hay that you must be knowing, when food for animal is called hay, feed and grain business. He always said that it's what he really wished he could do, and he certainly cannot go back to his old business. What is his old business? This old business is treating mental cases, not in Galesburg, Illinois. So why does he say that he doesn't have chance of getting patient there in Galesburg? Because it was a peaceful, happy place. So people will have no fear, no war, no tension. Obviously, in 1894, his old business. Why? Sam was my psychiatrist. So, the psychiatrist himself becomes patient, and he, instead of his patient, manages to reach to Galesburg in the year 1894. If you too have such wish, try to fulfill it, but you should see that you should be able to find the third level first. So you do not go to any railway station. Okay, and now it's time to know the summary, though I think that you must have understood the story and must have enjoyed at the same time, but let us complete it. Then the summary part. Now, after we have completed the story thoroughly, and I do believe that you must have enjoyed it also, it's time to go for a short summary, though I think that it is not required, and I would also advise you to write the summary of this story in your own words, because in that case you will be learning a lot of things. First of all, you will be learning how to frame sentences, then you will be able to edit it, then you will find that you are not able to connect properly. Connect properly means simply writing sentences and putting them together in a paragraph is not writing. In order to write properly, you must be able to give feel into it. You know, that's very important. So, have a look at the summary. The story is about a 31-year-old man that we have already seen, Charlie, who accidentally discovers a hidden third level on Grand Central Station in New York, I am adding from my side, that acts as a time portal to June 11, 1894. So through that third level, Charlie happens to visit the station in the year 1894. In this past era, that means in the year 1894, he encounters people dressed in 19th century clothing and becomes captivated. So when he sees people, when he observes people dressed in 19th century clothing, then this idea comes that he should buy 2 tickets for Galesburg and go to that particular city, because it's in 1894, life in Galesburg seems simpler, happier and peaceful. This is the main theme that I would like to point again and again, so you mark it. However, as we have seen in the story, Charlie's attempt to purchase tickets with modern currency fails, because he is a man from modern time and he needed the 1894 currency to buy those tickets. Therefore, he could not buy, leading to confusion with the ticket clerk. He is unable to find the corridor to the third level again. A mystery unfolds when he finds an old envelope in his stamp collection, postmarked from July 1894, addressed to his grandfather. So we have seen Charlie's case also. Later, Charlie receives a letter from his psychiatrist friend Sam, who has also escaped to Galesburg in 1894 using old style money. So the idea was given to Sam by Charlie, and he succeeded in finding the third level and going to Galesburg to enjoy happier, peaceful, simpler life instead of Charlie. So Sam suggests that Charlie and his wife Louisa join him in this simpler time, reflecting their shared desire to escape the complexities of the modern world. So if you remember at the beginning of the story, the psychiatrist said that he was unhappy. Means Charlie was unhappy because this world is full of war, worry, insecurity, tension, anxiety, apprehensions. But in fact, he was also infected with these kind of negative emotions, feelings, and he ran away from the same challenges that he accused his patient being of. The story explores the theme of escapism, because both the central character and his psychiatrist run away from the challenges as both Charlie and Sam seek refuge in nostalgic past, away from the challenges and uncertainties of contemporary life, modern life, present life. Hope you must have enjoyed, and whenever you present this story, present in the way I am presenting, passionately, with energy, correct pronunciation, and try to become bold presenter. So it's all from my side. Hope you must have enjoyed.